Welcome, Michelle. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Oh, I'm delighted, absolutely delighted to be here.
Well, it's going to be an interesting conversation for so many reasons. We are going to talk about creativity and confidence today.
Mhm.
And so let's get started. But before we talk about confidence and creativity, why don't we understand a little bit about who you are and what your story is? So tell us, Michelle.
Okay. Well, to begin with, I'm a Canadian from the east coast of Canada, the most eastern province of Canada, called Newfoundland and Labrador. You might have heard the two dogs, Newfoundland dogs and Labrador dogs. So that's my province. And I'm currently living in Norway. So my story, to try to nutshell it, because it has many twists and turns, lots of story there, lots of different chapters, Paul Perul. So it's I guess I'm a trained teacher by education, and I had worked in many different fields over the years because I didn't stay teaching. I didn't teach for so long. Early in my career, in my life as a young 20 something, I went into business. And I found that as I got older and in my early 40s, I felt like there was something really missing in my life. And I was after checking off kind of all the boxes that one is supposed to check off for, a happy and successful life. I had built myself a really successful career. I was CEO of an organization. I had a beautiful home in the downtown part of the city that I had renovated. I had all the things that are supposed to kind of, check off your map of life, kind of thing. But I felt very, very empty inside. So I did something pretty radical. I decided to go off and go back into teaching. And I found myself in Saudi Arabia at the age of 43, teaching English at a female university. And that was a very interesting, thing for me to take on. Number one, to go back to teaching after 20-year absence from it. And I found that I really liked to teach uh, as a 40 something, because I had 20 more years of living under my belt, right? But the thing that I'm trying to get to, in a roundabout way here, was that one decision that I made to basically find my something more, whatever I wanted to, or whatever I was seeking, to fill me up, to have that sense of purpose and meaning. Um, I had to make that first decision to go look for it. And making that decision set a whole pile of things in motion. And I believe, my own mindset and my energy and where I, went and how I paid attention to what was happening inside of me, listening to it, really, really helped guide me along the way. And I can see now how everything had to work out exactly the way that it did. We have that hindsight 2020 vision, right? But when it comes to the creativity part, I've always been a singer songwriter and musician since I was 15 years old. So it's a long time. It's over 40 years ago. And performed professionally as well. And, in different festivals and bar gigs and those kinds of things. Love to write, always loved to write. Found that very expressive for me to be able to express my emotions. And I just figured that was my creative outlet, that there was nothing else, that this is what I did as a person to, express myself creatively. But I picked up a paintbrush in 2017, actually New Year's Day 2017. And that has changed everything. It's changed my life. It has opened me up in so many different ways. It has led me to find that exact purpose and meaning that I was looking for. And it led me back to myself, to my real, true self. So painting, what happened was really, it was like something exploded inside of me. And I was just painting and painting and painting. And I mean, I painted so many pictures that first year, almost 150 pictures. And yeah, it was like constantly. I was painting in my sleep, I swear. I was like images and everything was coming to me. So I was going back to Newfoundland for vacation. And, I wanted to do some sort of exhibition there because, I was sort of known in the arts community as a singer, songwriter, musician, and had a lot of friends in the cultural arts. So I thought maybe I'd put together some sort of exhibition. And I did, but it was a very different one. My husband suggested that I write my songs and or paint my songs. Sorry, write my songs. I had my songs written, but to take my songs and paint them, which was a unique concept, and there was something about it that was really kind of intriguing me. So I decided to go back to the very first song I'd ever written as a 21-year-old. And it was about a very traumatic experience that happened to our family. We lost my father and my brother and my uncle in a boating accident. And I had written a song about it as my way to, process, or as part of the processing, I should say. And when I painted the picture for that song, I felt something completely different inside of me change. I mean, this is a 30 plus year wound, right? And it just shifted something, the process that I took myself through in allowing, my being to come to the surface with this. Because I had never had before in truly in this kind of a way. So I knew that I had to continue and paint more of my songs. So I did. And I put it together, and I put together a show called the Song Series and put it in front of people. So I told the stories, Parul. I told the stories of my life, the things that, because of course you write your songs about your life, and the good things, the happy things, the not so good, not so happy, all the in between things. So I chose, a dozen or so songs, and I told a story of them to people. And that show, the Song Series, it opened my eyes to the power of connection, because that's what people connected with, was the story. Our circumstances might be different, but if I'm on stage talking about, the love of my life and our journey, you're sitting in the audience thinking about the love of your life and your journey, or about your dad, or, about your child or whatever, right? So it was that kind of journey between the young woman who had written the song in her 20s, 30s, and even 40s, to the woman now in her 50s that was taking all of that, plus all of the, the processing and the learning and the life in between those two times, and putting that in front of people. So
Wow.
yeah, that had a huge resonance with
Mm.
people. And it was the message of, really of resilience and of shifting from self-doubt to self-belief. And that is where confidence comes from, which is the topic today. Is that shift internally from yourself. You can't take something out there and bring it in to make you feel confident. And yes, confidence comes from doing, from taking action, from stepping into the person that you want to become. But it also takes a shifting of how you see yourself, how you view yourself as a businesswoman, as a mother, as a partner, as a daughter, as all your roles, and it comes from in here, this internal shifting. So what I've gone on to do now, I've become certified. I wrote a book, by the way. I wrote a book about all of this as well. It's called, I thought I had it there, but I don't. I thought I had it close. No, I do not. But it's called Stepping Stones. And it's literally about that. It's about it's about the song series, what I presented in the song series, but a bigger, obviously I have a bigger platform in a book than a 2.5 hour show. So it's more of the story, right? And my processing, my lessons that I took from all of these experiences that I've had, because I do believe that that's what we need to do. We need to be able to connect the dots of our lives in a way that makes sense for us, not somebody else out here, but in a way that makes sense for us, so that we can choose how to move forward, right? So that's a whole lot at once. Do you have any questions about any of
I am sitting here feeling enthralled with what you said. And there's so many beautiful things that I just picked up. And there are so many beautiful things that just spoke to me as you were sharing your story. One thing that really stuck with me was the moment when you talk about the decision
Yes.
to want more out of our life, more meaning, more joy, more purpose. Because so many of us can settle for just the regular. But when we make that decision, that is such a powerful moment, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It is. And actually, I don't think we truly understand the depth of it until later. Until later, because that was really, honestly, truly, I was 43 years old when I made that decision. And I don't believe I've ever, up to that point, had made a decision that was 100% just about me. Like, I didn't have to consider anybody else. Like, I made that decision, and it was a huge one, obviously, like, just for me. It was not based on what someone else thought I should do or anything like that, or if anybody else was okay with it or not. It was totally, and I mean, it was a difficult decision. I'm not going to say it was easy. It was a difficult decision to make, but there was so much freedom in understanding that I had control, that I felt empowered to go on this journey of finding my something more. Yeah. Pivotal moment. Pivotal
Yes,
moment in my life.
pivotal. I love this quote from Tony Robbins,
Mhm.
which goes on lines of, I'm paraphrasing now. It's in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped.
Mhm.
I
Yes.
absolutely love this quote because it is so powerful when we decide, when we
Yes.
make a decision,
Mhm.
that's when everything changes.
But here's the other side of this. Now, I'm just going to be almost like a devil's advocate here. We're always deciding, just not consciously. And this is the kind of work that I help people with,
I
right?
love that. Yeah.
We are always deciding, and yes, our decisions are always creating our future. It's just we're not doing it consciously. I was not doing it consciously. I felt like life was dragging me along, or that I was playing a role that somebody else thought that I should play. I was doing what I thought were all the right things, as I mentioned earlier, but I don't know, the decisions weren't true to me. They weren't true to who Michelle Myrick is, in my own soul, in my own heart, of what I desired for my life, the kind of um, you know, wanting to jump out of bed to go to whatever it was that I was searching for work, because what I was doing wasn't it, right? And I mean, I found it now, because I've gone on to get, certifications in life coaching, and as well as cognitive behavioral therapy. So, and soon to be neuro-linguistic programming as well. But I mean, this is how I'm meant to teach in the world. I'm delighted I got that education degree. Like, as I said, hindsight's 2020. You go back and look at it. Without that education degree, I would not have gone off to Saudi Arabia. I wouldn't have had that tool to be able to take me there, to be able to make that decision. So like, and to be able to do this now, to create programs that are, really and truly structured like curriculum, because I understand how to teach, even about this kind of stuff, even about creativity.
Mhm.
right? How to access this deeper well that we all have, but don't pay attention to, you know?
Yes, 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 absolutely, absolutely. Whatever experiences and learning that we have had during our life, everything amounts to becoming the person we are,
Mm.
and the work that we are doing. So it's not that this is one of the things that we were taught when I did my coaching training, and our mentors would say, "Don't think that you are starting as a coach today, because you have a lifetime of experience
Yeah,
behind you to
exactly.
back you up."
Yeah. Almost, most definitely. I mean, you know, I've had a blessed life in a lot of ways, right? You know, surrounded by family and friends whom I can't wait to get back to Canada to see. Right. But, you know, also all of the different things that I've experienced, the life events, the circumstances, as you say, you know, I bring all of that to my teaching now, to my coaching, because when someone like we this is why the song series also was such a popular show, because we all relate on a similar emotional plane. You know, we experience emotions, even though our circumstances are a little bit different, but we
Yeah,
experience fear. When you have fear, I know what fear feels like,
yeah,
you know, from my perspective as well. So there's that element of empathy that we can bring to our practice, you know. And like a lot of people, Parul, are walking around feeling like they're broken, you know, that life has broke them in some way. And one of the things that I've been known to be quoted for these days is the phrase of, "You're not broken, you're being built." And we are always being built. This conversation is even building us both to
yes,
become more better presenters, right? So
yes.
look, we're always being built. Even the bad stuff, even the, you know, the horrible things that happen in life, they have the power to shape us if we let them, if we go on that journey of finding that meaning, connecting those dots, you know. And art is a great way to do that. It's kind of a
Mhm.
sneaky way to do it, actually.
I like how you put it.
It really is. Like, you know, I mean, seriously, I have women come into my programs and they say, "Michelle, I don't know how to draw a stick person.
Mhm.
Like, I am so not artistic." But that's a pile of, you know what? We are all artistic. But I take people through a process, and I broke it down this way. This is my teacher brain, right?
Yeah.
Like my own process of discovery that painting taught me, like what I went through in my own process of discovery there, how I took all that stuff that was in me and brought it up, you know, to let it be expressed. So, like everyone gets the same kind of 5-step process that I take people through, and they create, oh my God, I've had, well, obviously paintings, but I've had collages, I've had wire sculptures, I've had wooden things like carved and burnt into wood. I've had things done with rocks and mosaics. And so, like, it doesn't matter what the piece kind of is that comes out. It's the process that the person goes through to bring that up and to identify for themselves who they really are at their core, who, and choosing who do they want to be moving forward. Because as you know, coaching is all about moving forward,
Yeah.
taking that, how you're going to use that going ahead in your life, in your business, in, you know, in your family, in your relationships, even in your health. Like, you know, just becoming more and more conscious. Yeah.
What you said there really resonated with me, Michelle. Now, I'm somebody who would put myself in that category. I can't draw to save my life.
Mm.
But listening to you, I'm thinking, no, maybe I could.
I never knew I could paint. Imagine. Like I've literally painted hundreds and hundreds of pieces now, and they're hanging in 7 different countries of the world. I mean,
Wow.
2016, I didn't know I had this in me.
Did you never paint until the new year 217.
Now, I tell you, I had two different experiences with painting, and one of them was in India, because I lived in India before living in Norway. Back, oh my gosh, I would say this is maybe 15, 16, 17 years ago. I was was going through I was after leaving a very bad relationship and going through a financial struggle at the time. And I have, as I mentioned, a lot of friends, a lot of girlfriends, a lot of close girlfriends. And I always usually give them a little something. So I was said, okay, I'll make something, like, I don't have time to knit anything because I like knitting too. I've always liked using my hands somehow. I love to cook, but I'd given them food and stuff before. So I wanted something different. So I was walking around like the department store, Walmart in Canada, and in the craft section, and I saw some paints and a few little tiny canvases. So I picked them up, brought them home. I'll make something. I'll make some sort of picture for them, right? So I painted 9 pictures. That was it, right? And never picked it up again after. Actually, never did it after until we were living in India back. So that was, let me see, what year would that be? 2013, 14, somewhere there. And I had some time on my hands again, picked up some paints, some supplies, painted a few pictures, not very many, but a few. And that was it. Like nothing resonated with, nothing, really stuck with me. We were traveling a lot and stuff like that too. So I don't know, just the timing was not right. When the student is ready, the teacher appears, and painting was my teacher. And I was ready in 2017, obviously, So, I mean, I taught myself how to paint. YouTube is an amazing resource, right? Yeah. So I learned how to do textures and stuff like that. And I still can't draw a stick person properly, right? Like,
who cares?
That's not, but like people resonated with my paintings,
yeah,
because there's so much emotion in them. There was so much emotion came up, and like people that create different art pieces through my programs now, like it's so special to them because their emotion is there in physical form now, and it stands as something that that they've done, that they've witnessed about themselves. That's so powerful, Peru.
Yeah,
that's really, really a powerful connection with self, right? Which is what authenticity is all about, if you ask me. That's like acceptance of who we are. I mean, my gosh, it's so integral to living a fulfilling life. Yeah.
Yeah. As a storyteller, Michelle, I believe that everyone has a storyteller in them. Would you say the same thing for painting or any other kind of creativity?
Yes. And here's why. If you're, like, say, I'm just going to put up a scenario. If you're a single mom, with 3 kids, working on a tight budget that you have to, put food on the table and pay for your account, wherever you're living, whatever, that's creativity. That is creativity. You have to be an innovative thinker in order to make it on that budget, or to come up with ways to supplement or whatever. That's a source of creativity. Planting a garden. You're given a blank piece of land in front of you. You decide, you create. Like, it's not always about painting. It's about following your inner voice, following that inner, knowledge and wisdom that we all have. I call it the soul's compass. So
I love that.
When I stopped following the map, I dialed into my soul's compass. And now that's what I teach people to do. In a nutshell, I teach them how to dial into that soul's compass, rather than all this crap that we've been listening to for decades, right? Of who we should be and all that stuff. Who do you want to be? Go there. It's in there. It's not out here anywhere. It's in here, right? So it's that's why I say it's sneaky. I use creativity as a route in. Like, there's a bridge between the lower mind and the higher mind. I think there's a channel, if you will, and that is the soul's compass. That is that intuitive knowledge that we have, that inner being that we stopped listening to when we were 5 years old or 6 years old. You know, we stopped listening to her because she started getting socialized and figuring out, okay, this is right, that's wrong. If I do this, I'll get approval. If I don't do this, someone will accept me, or
Yeah.
all of those things, right?
Mm.
So we stop listening to that soul's compass. We start following the map then at that
Yeah.
age. But that channel between the lower mind, which wants to
Yeah.
keep us safe all the time, and this one up here, the higher mind, that
Yeah.
is actually where the field of potential is unlimited, all kinds of possibility, innovative ideas, creativity, all that stuff that only you can do,
Mm.
is the soul's compass, the direct route into that soul's compass is art, or creativity, I should say. Like just any sort of like creative expression. I've had people write poems and songs as well, like just in writing, to get that out. They were never writers before. They never put like prose together before, or poetry. It's creativity is so many different things, but it all comes from here. Right? So, yes, to your answer, we are all creative. I
Mm.
mean, look at the word creativity. We are creatures. They're almost the same word.
Yeah.
Creatures, creativity.
Mm.
We're born of creativity, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That makes so much sense to me. And yet, so many of us have this story, and I was also one of them. I'll tell you a bit more about it. It's so funny. I find it funny now.
Mm, mm,
It wasn't when it happened. So many of us have this story that we aren't creative, or we aren't a particular thing, or we can't do a particular thing. I'm somebody who spent most of my teenage years and my young adult life believing that I wasn't creative. When I was a teenager, in my early teens, I used to write beautiful poems, and then I just got caught up in the studies, etc., college, uni, all that stuff happened. So I stepped away from it, and I had this new story about myself that I was just not
mm,
creative enough.
mhm,
And then, interestingly, last 7 8 years, because I slowed down my pace after going through an experience of aggressive cancer, and I was in
mhm,
that place of finding myself again, I started getting these comments from people that I was a very creative person.
mhm,
And then I thought, oh, wait, what's going on here? And then I realized that I just had this story about myself that I wasn't creative. I reconnected with writing. I started writing poetry again.
mhm.
I have always cooked, and I have always cooked well. So they were all different means of creativity.
Of course.
It was
Yeah.
just a story I had here that I wasn't creative.
Exactly. 100%. And I mean, these false stories, my gosh, I went through right up into my 30s, not thinking I had a voice. Imagine, I have so much to say. My voice is bursting inside of me to just share. I'm a sharer, but it was lack of confidence. So, we're back to this again. It's building from within, understanding yourself on a completely different level. And I mean, to do that first, we have to address those stories, right? So the way kind of work that I do is, as I said, stacked, it's layered, but it starts with mind management principles. It has to.
Mhm.
It has to, because we all have this inner critic, and unless we get control of that, we're not going to be able to progress further, because that, believe me, that's strong. It's been having the voice, the say, for probably 30, 40 years for most of us, right?
Yeah.
So it's a hard thing, a challenging thing, I should say, to shift at the beginning. But once you get it, once you start putting these kinds of principles into practice, catching what you're doing to yourself, understanding that it's creating your reality, I mean, that's like everything opens up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you start allowing. That's the thing. You start allowing yourself,
Yeah.
right?
And
You,
it's a continuous, unending process.
of course. and we have to, you know, utilize so much kindness and compassion for ourselves to even get there. I mean, I hated myself. Like, I did not like the person who I was in my younger days at all.
Yeah.
Oh, I was so cruel to her. I would never say those kinds of things, you know, that I said to myself out loud to anybody, any other person. But I was downright cruel to myself, you know, and to be able to go back now and look at her and understand her more helps me understand me more. Right? Yeah.
And that's so healing. It's so
Oh,
therapeutic.
yes. Oh, it is. Yes, it is, you know. So like I have paintings of, you know, little girls and things that my little person, you know,
Mm.
my little person that um she shows up every now and then on a painting because she has something she needs to tell me. You know, it's that's why painting is so freeing to me compared to songwriting. You know, I don't have to work within a structure. I don't have to make anything rhyme, you know, right? So, like, I mean, there are other forms, obviously, of any kind of creative expression that people can use. You know, I just really, it cracked me open in such a wonderful way to let so much stuff come up, you know.
Mm.
Yeah. Mm.
Beautiful, beautiful. I reckon one reason why your paintings resonate so much with your audience is because through every painting you're telling a story, and stories connect us with other
Definitely.
human beings.
Definitely. Because I mean, I go down to my studio and I take out everything and I start painting. I don't always have a plan.
Mm-hmm,
In fact, I would say 85-90% of the time I don't have any plan,
mm-hmm,
right? But I'm always feeling. It's almost like it lets me feel without thinking,
mm-hmm.
you know. And whatever I'm feeling, there's a story behind that somewhere.
Yeah.
And different, you know, even different, like it's just a different stroke will make me feel something. And I'm like, where's that come from? And I just, you know, I'm always kind of checking in with me. Where's that? What's that feeling? Where's that like what where did that come from, and who, why, and who, and is it still, and what, you know, like it's there's just this kind of internal chat, but not in that chatty way that we're, you know, we talk about a lot. It's about, you know, negative self-talk, not that way, but it's just, it's a knowing. It's like almost two parts of my inner knowing are kind of communicating. I don't know how else to explain that actually.
I think some people use the phrase being inspired. Some people call it being in the flow.
Yeah,
Some people
it is
call it
slow.
tapping into the source. But I think
Mm,
they are all one and the same thing.
mm. I feel like as having a chat with myself
Mm.
in a different level, like on a different plane
Yeah,
altogether.
yeah, yeah.
Once I allowed myself to go there, because I mean, this is the other side of the work is we suppress so much. Oh my gosh, we suppress so much of our emotions because somewhere along the line we were told to buck up, or, you know, you got to be strong, or good girls don't cry, or you know, whatever, right? So like we just, oh, I'll deal with that later, you know. We stuff it away or we deny it altogether,
Yeah.
you know. And when we start letting that come up and have some air, it changes you. It
Mm.
changes you, you know. And
Yeah.
we have to have those kinds of conversations, I think, with ourselves. I know I do. I have to have them, you know. And I guess part of the work is what I'm doing is giving people vehicles and tools to do that for themselves, because I can't have a conversation internally with you. You got to do that for yourself,
Yeah.
right? But I can help guide you to it, you know.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. I was giggling when you were talking because it resonated so much. I've been that strong person. get all your ducks in a row, being on top of everything. Oh God, it's so exhausting.
It is. It is. Yeah, it really is. But here's the key, right? Like, it's exhausting when you're following that map.
Yeah.
Honestly, because that map is so full of shoulds. It's it's completely constructed on shoulds. But the soul's compass is completely constructed on, oh, what if?
Oh, I love
There's a
that.
whole other energy there. There's a whole
Mm,
other energy, right?
mm,
You know, and it's like more potential, more opportunity, more possibility in that soul compass part. Because I'm like, as soon as I get an inkling about something, oh, what's that? Where's that going to take me? Like, I get excited. I get excited because it's coming from here. It's not coming from out there, somebody saying, now, Michelle, you need to do this, or you should do that, or now be careful, you know, right? I mean, well-intentioned people, you know, lots of times, and especially in business, right? As we start our own businesses and put ourselves out there now, you know, you got to be careful now what people are thinking about you and all this kind of stuff, right? And no, you don't. You got to be careful about what you're thinking. Period.
yeah. Yeah, I love how you have tied all these external stories that dictate how we should be living. So many shoulds. And most of them are not even connected to who we are and who we want to be and how we want to live.
Yeah.
And we have to let go of all that BS. That's how
Yeah.
I would put it.
Yeah.
To really
But
explore what we want.
here's the very interesting thing about that. A lot of people don't even realize how much they've bought into that, how much that's not them. Because as soon as I start working with someone and we start getting into it, you know, the like, what exactly do you want? Oh my God, I have no clue. I have no clue what I want. I know what they want for me. I know what she says I should do, right? I know what my mother believes I should do, or whatever, you know, kind of thing. But it's, I mean, it's an unraveling. I really truly believe, and this is a Brene Brown term, actually. I love Brene. I love her.
Me too.
But like this midlife that we're obviously in, me and you,
Yeah.
you come to an unraveling point, like when your life is starting to, whew, which way do I go now? Like, what's next, you know? And mortality is getting closer when you see people struggling with illnesses and even passing away, and you realize time is getting short, and like, Jesus, is this what I really want to do for the next 10, 15, 20, 25 years, or what? And I mean, I was questioning myself at that stage at 43.
Yeah.
And I was, it's like, is this all that life is? Is just to be able to pay for a mortgage and a nice car and a trip to, you know, the Caribbean once a year? Oh my God, that can't be all that life is about. I sat there like in dismay, almost like that can't be all that life is about. I've worked too hard for it to be just this.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the journey. Actually, the title of my next book as well, something more.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, I'm writing my third book now, actually.
I understand you come from a family of storytellers, don't you?
I do, yes.
Tell us about them.
Sure. Well, I grew up at a lighthouse, Cape Pine Lighthouse, which is on the east coast. It's actually the most southeasterly tip of North America, of all of North America. So I come from 6 generations of lighthouse keepers. That's a lot.
Wow.
My father, grandfather, great grandfather, you know, on and on up through the line. And they originally came from Ireland. You can probably hear a little tiny bit of an Irish accent happening here, or at least a Celtic accent, but most of Newfoundlanders sound like that because we were settled by the English, the Irish, the Scottish, the French, and the Portuguese for fishing off the Grand Banks of Newfoundland, the cod fishery. So there's a much need for lighthouses in Newfoundland because of that, of course. But growing up on a lighthouse, the only entertainment we had, right, were stories and songs. My father played the guitar and sang. And my grandfather, Myrick, was an incredible storyteller. He could recall, and stories that were passed down like from generations to generations. And he was also a singer, and they would sing back in those days a cappella songs because nobody played an instrument. So they were these 20, 25 verse long narrative songs, and people would also tell recitations. If you couldn't sing, they would recite them, these stories in rhyme. And this is what I grew up to, listening, like in the kitchen. This is the entire entertainment before television. And I mean, I can actually remember before television. When I started school, I lived with my grandparents during the week because they lived in a small community. And I go back to the lighthouse on the weekends until my family eventually built a home in the community as well. But that experience of living with my paternal grandparents, with my grandfather, I mean, I used to be enthralled about these stories of shipwrecks and like people getting lost in the fog, and the fairies. The fairies was a big one. These stories about fairies coming out of the woods and things like that. So it was just kind of like story has always kind of been in, as you said, in my DNA. I really think it is. It's just part of who I am. Yeah, to share story.
How beautiful! 6 generations of lighthouse keepers. Wow.
Yeah. As I made a post earlier the week in your group, it was actually a Myrick that took the distress signal from the Titanic at Cape Race, which is about, I think, 50 or 60 kilometers from where I grew up.
Yeah.
It's not so far. It's one of the next landmarks, actually. Yeah.
I'm just thinking the kind of stories that must be running in your family. They would be so enthralling, so enchanting.
Well, I mean, they were, and they have been documented. The people from the university, in the capital city, have, reams of recordings from my grandfather and other older men in the community back then. So they were recorded like in the 60s and 70s, thankfully. So we have a record of some of these stories, fascinating, really, and how entertaining they were, and how people love to hear them over and over. And it's really such a wonderful oral tradition that has, for the biggest part, been lost, sadly.
Yeah, my grandmom was a terrific storyteller. I like to say that's how I got the storytelling gene. But unfortunately, we did not make any records, and all that talent, that's just gone. It's just gone. It's such a shame, such a shame.
It is, isn't it? It is, and I mean, I'm a really, really big advocate of people sharing their story, and I mean their story of their life experiences, because that's what the song series taught me too, is that when I can get up there and explain something that has happened to me, that helps another person feel, oh, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one that feels this way, or I'm not the only one that thought that. I had a woman come up to me, actually 2 different times, 2 different women came up at the end of the show, and this one in particular I've never forgotten it. She said, "You said up there what I couldn't say.
Beautiful.
You said up there what I couldn't say." And for her, she couldn't find the words to express it. So like, I think that's really so important for us to share our story, and especially when it comes to mental health. I think this is one topic, that we've shied away from for too long, and too many people have suffered in silence. And I think it's really important to, create community around that, so that a person does not feel isolated, does not feel like they're alone. in their struggle. And
Yeah.
and I mean, we can overcome so much as a community, and that's what I like in trying to build a community for that is to, I mean, that's what Heart of the Matter is all about, my group.
Yeah.
It's about women coming together and sharing and supporting each other in life, in the things that we're experiencing, right? And doing so in a very safe and supportive environment. It's really personal, and it's really, really powerful. And I love
Mhm.
that. I love
Yeah.
that when people share, and we do a lot of creative shares in my group as well. We have people sharing their music on Fridays. We have people sharing their visual art on Saturdays, and we have people sharing their writing, all kinds of writing and visual art, on Sundays. So it's, yeah, if anyone's interested in watching, they're welcome to come over and have a look as well at Heart of the Matter.
And you'll drop the link just underneath the video.
I can, yes, yeah, yeah,
So Michelle, help us understand.
yeah.
I see stories feature in your life creativity and confidence, but does confidence come first to be creative, or does creativity come first to tap into our confidence?
It's a dance, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's a dance. I honestly think that the mindset piece comes first, right? I really do. In order to truly allow yourself to be who you are, which is a beautiful spirit, whether you believe it right now or not, you have to do that mindset piece first, right? To allow yourself to go deeper,
Mm-hmm.
I think. And then there's a dance that happens between, okay, it might be okay to try this and to do that. And then, the creativity gets more inspired, and then the
Yeah.
confidence grows a little bit. And there's a dance that happens. But I honestly think that the mind management piece is crucial to even getting there, even
Yeah.
even going into the dance hall, right?
I love that. I love how you
Yeah.
have explained it.
Thank you.
So we first work on the mindset, which is nothing but a story that we have chosen to believe in. And
Mm.
from there on, it's a dance that happens.
Mm. And like, these are fluid, right? Because I can remember back about 20 years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
I used to go to all of these seminars, and I've always been very interested in psychology and personal development. And I can remember like hearing, like, going to a Louise Hay place, a seminar, I can do a seminar in the States, and just love yourself. And I'm like, how the F do I do that? How do I just love myself? I don't know how. Right?
I know the feeling.
Right? Because like it's you can't go from the level of self-hatred and despise that I had for myself to self-love. It's too much of a leap. There's
Yeah.
lots of little pieces in between. You have to get to know yourself. You have to build a different relationship with yourself in order to get there. And it starts with, of course, the decision, right? But kindness to yourself, be kind to yourself as much as you catch yourself whenever you're negative. Be compassionate for the woman that you have been. She got you here. She got you here. She kept you alive, right? She
Yeah.
got you here, right? You might not have, liked her very much or liked her decision making, but she got you here,
Yeah.
right? So, kindness, compassion, and from there, start, accepting yourself, different parts of who you are. Start accepting a little bit more. Then we can flow more into self-love. I think it's a process. And all of these things come together. We're all very unique, and we interpret them in our own special way when we have the tools and techniques to do so. It's simple, really, when you look at it, but again, starts with the decision.
Mm.
If you're fed up with the way your life is right now, let's come have a chat. Come over and have a chat. And we'll see. I mean, really though, like, I was fed up.
Yeah.
That's what started me on the journey. I was like, oh God, like, there has to be more to it than this, and I knew that there was more. I've always known there was something I was intended for, right? And I really wanted to find out what that was. And I had the teaching degree to be able to take me back to that profession, to go there. And I had the adventurous spirit and the drive and interest for travel. So yeah, I mean, but we all have different things, right? We all have different things. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just thinking how you have explained it. It makes it so crystal clear. There's got to be more to life. For a week in the Caribbean or 2 weeks in the Caribbean, staying stuck or not feeling fulfilled for 50 weeks in a year, that sounds like a pretty bad deal.
yeah. I mean, you're like, what was that? There's another quote, I can't remember who said it either, but it's like you spend, all year working to go on vacation and get away from your life.
Yeah.
How about shifting that around? How about like being happy about your life? You don't have to run away from it. Or the quote was something about that. Like, how would you like to not have to feel like you're running away from your life? You have to get away from your life. I mean, that says a lot, doesn't it? Now, I mean, I love going on vacation, don't get me wrong, but I love my daily life as well.
Yeah.
Now I do,
Yeah.
But, the map, right, of that CEO, that successful, put on your heels every day woman, I wasn't getting that there. I wasn't loving my life there. Everybody else thought I had it perfect, but I wasn't loving my life there. That was not what was meant for me.
And I would say that's a good enough reason to bring in the change. That's the best reason to bring in the change.
Yeah. And here's the other thing, like nobody said that the road to enlightenment or the road to, personal evolution and development was going to be easy. Hell no, it's not. You got to face some deep truths about yourself.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, I'll just ask, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want to feel better? Like, I really wanted to feel better before I died, because that's the way I was looking at it. Like, geez, I could do this for the next 20 years, but do I want to? Yeah.
Yeah. And how badly do you want to stay where you are?
Yeah. And some people are also, and this again back to story mind, right? But they're afraid to go down this road of questioning, because they know, there's a knowing inside them that it's going to mean changing a lot of things. Like for me, it was changing country. It was changing, right, my relationships.
Yeah.
It was changing professions. It was changing a whole lot of things. So that scares the hell out of people. But what I'd say about that is, if I had somebody tell me back then, 12, 13 years ago, that Michelle, just what do you like? What are you curious about? What are your interests about? Maybe I would have gotten here faster. Maybe I would have picked up that paintbrush faster. But, that's why you go out and you hire somebody like a coach, like yourself, like me, like many others in this group, who are emulating what it is you want, or who are in a position where you want to be, right? Who have walked it already. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. I thought I had to reinvent the wheel, so it took me longer, basically.
Yeah, that brings me to a very important question, Michelle.
Yeah.
How can people reach out and get this goodness from you? How can they work with you? Do you have something coming up?
Well, I do actually. I do a monthly masterclass, which people, I can leave the link there for that as well. Every month I pick something, and this is really, really affordable. It's only $25. And I do this on purpose. This is worth, the masterclass I have coming up is definitely worth $250. It's about recovering from exposure to a narcissist. And I survived a narcissistic relationship, a love relationship, as well as two different very, look, narcissism, I think I see it on a spectrum, two very challenging work environments as well. And it very male dominated too, but with narcissistic exposure comes a chemical, kind of a toxic chemical cocktail for the brain. So I'm teaching about that. I'm teaching about how to understand how your brain is processing this kind of thing at a neurological level, and the things that you can do to help yourself, because just removing yourself from the narcissistic person is not enough. I can still, like, years ago, long after I left the relationship, be standing at the kitchen washing the dishes, and all of a sudden I feel like I'm trembling, because we create this, what's called a trauma bond in our brain. Anyway, I'm doing that on the 11th of July, and people are welcome to check it out on my website as well. It's michellemyrick.com/masterclass. Right. The other thing that I have is my bigger program, which is an 8-week program called Be the Lighthouse. And Be the Lighthouse is really about going inward, taking that journey inside, finding your own light, reconnecting with it, getting very solid about what it is you want for your life and how to move forward. We actually design it towards the last 2 weeks of the program, a life plan. How you want to be able to, to what you want to achieve, your goals, and literally how to get it. We go through a process of retraining the brain. A lot of what I do, Parul, is about the brain, is about mind management, right? And it's so much less about just positive thinking. It's much deeper levels than that. So I bring a lot of science to my work as well, and very much practical tools. That program I'm not running until October. Again, I'm currently in session right now, but with the transition to Canada and everything, I'm not running it until October, but it's almost sold out already.
Wow.
Thank you. It's really a very powerful piece of work that I take people through.
Yep.
And it's stacking, the learning and putting these principles really into practice. We do art making in there as well. We do that self-discovery process too.
Yeah.
So again, that's on my website, michellemyrick.com/lighthouse. I'm pretty simple. Like, everything I do is explained in simple terms, and I like breaking down these kind of more complex principles into common everyday language that makes sense, like with examples, so that people can see their own lives and how to move forward. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So
Thank
you have a
you.
masterclass coming up, and you have a program that starts in October. Drop all the links under the video
I
so
will.
that
Yeah.
people can reach out to you.
Yeah. True enough. Yeah. And I guess the other thing is my Facebook group, Heart of the Matter. That's my home pretty much on the web. And it's we have a lot of fun in there too, with the creative shares. I'm doing card readings. Actually, I'm going to have to finish off our call because I have card readings in about a half hour there too. So we have a lot of different things going on inside there.
Amazing.
Yeah. A lot
Michelle,
of free resources. Yeah.
this has been such a delightful conversation. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your wisdom with our community. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it myself. Thanks a lot, Pearl.
Thank you so much.